persuasive. For some reason, the jury doesn't think is persuasive. It almost never fails that when lawyers talk to jurors after a trial, the things they found important were often things the lawyers didn't think were important, and vice versa. So this is a big, dynamic, moving, living thing. And to sit here and say, I guess to answer your question, this is going to be important and that isn't going to be important, that's beyond me. That's for fortune tellers.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you're basically saying is no matter what we know about what's in those wiretaps, what's in depositions, it's a crapshoot in the sense you just don't know what's going to happen because there is all this unpredictability. From what you've read about all this, though, and from what you know, do you think that it is going to be in the government's interest to put Aaron Kenney on the stand or not?
Sure. You know, the federal government with whom I used to be affiliated regularly used professional criminals as witnesses, especially in organized crime prosecutions. We had people who were murderers, multiple murderers, who testified for the government against other professional criminals. So the fact that Aaron Kenney has admitted to doing corrupt things herself doesn't disqualify her as a witness. Does it make it more difficult for the prosecution? Sure, but it's not a disqualification. It's going to depend on how she comes across to that jury. There's
an interesting story today in the Review Journal about Ghilardi and some timeline that he purports to have that shows that when he did certain things with certain people, and there's questions about whether or not that's going to be admitted into evidence. He already has come across in some reports as a guy who just shoots his mouth off about a lot of different things. I did this with this guy, and wants to name cops and judges and everybody else. Is the more of that stuff that comes out, the less credible he is during the trial?
You know, that's going to be probably the $64 question, because you would think that, you know, in your normal human reaction, if somebody's proven to have lied to you about something once, you become very skeptical about that person. If they've proven to have lied to you 2 or 3 times, you don't want any more to do with them. You're not going to take their word for the fact that it's a sunny day outside. You're going to go check for yourself. But in a trial like this, it's also perfectly possible to say, and as a prosecutor, I used to say this with witnesses like Ghilardi, if I don't have something to back up what he says, wiretap, physical surveillance showing the people together, banking records, if I can't corroborate what that man says, I suggest you not believe it. Of course, defense counsel always hated it because that was their line.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're inoculating yourself at the beginning for what might come later. All right, we're going to take a break and we'll come back, talk more about some specifics that have already come out, including this strange Mark versus Mary Kincaid thing that's going on. Back with Stan Hunterton. He's a former federal prosecutor in our ongoing analysis of the G-Sting trial that starts this week.
You're watching Face to Face with John Ralston.
Welcome back to the program. We're talking about the G-Sting trial. We're going to try to keep you up to date on it occasionally here on Face to Face. Today we're talking to Stan Hunterton. He's a former federal prosecutor. All right, this whole thing that's going on between Mary Kincaid's son, who supposedly got lap dances paid for by the mother, and now they're contradicting each other, and there might be testimony against each other. Let me show you what a federal prosecutor had to say about Mark Kincaid's statements. Mark Kincaid has stated twice to the government that he does not remember receiving any large amounts of money from his mother, Malone, or Ghilardi either, for his campaign or otherwise, and that such a large payment would likely stand out in his mind. You know, $5,000. I mean, have you ever heard of anything like this in a trial, the spectacle of a son and a mother contradicting themselves?
No, and I don't want to be at the Kincaid-Shaughnessy house for Thanksgiving this year.
might be a lot of empty chairs there, huh? I mean, that is and I guess there's no way to predict who's going to come across as more credible there either, right?
No, there isn't.
There's another.
One of them's lying. aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. That's what's going on. Maybe it's the mother taking the rap for the son. I don't know. I mean, all the rest of the speculation is even more insidious. There's another interesting aspect of this, Mr. Hunterton, and that is the Michael McDonald, the former councilman, is mentioned throughout these documents. Let me show you what the Las Vegas Sun had in this comprehensive weekend report about the contents of an FBI report. Ghilardi told agents that he gave McDonald $10,000 in cash. McDonald responded by saying, "Once I get into office, I'll cover your back. Make sure no laws are passed that will hurt you." After McDonald was elected, Ghilardi said McDonald came to him looking for a job. Ghilardi decided to put him on his payroll, giving him $5,000 a month as a consultant. Ghilardi emphasized that McDonald never did any real work for him, and McDonald's position was only to apprise and assist him in the city council meetings or hearings when Ghilardi decided to expand his business interests. I mean, McDonald is mixed up in all of this stuff in one way or another. Why do you think that he has not been indicted, charged with anything in this? Any ideas?
I have no idea. He seems like a very lucky individual. I mean, the Mike McDonald saga, whether it was his ethics problems when he was a city councilman, questions about his conduct as a police officer, questions about his conduct after he was a city councilman. It's been going on for years and years. But, you know, there's no lack of aggressiveness in the United States Attorney's Office. You got to say this, you know, if in Mr. McDonald's defense, if they had probable cause that he'd committed a crime, he would have been indicted, I think.
And of course, he always acknowledged, well, he acknowledged at least after the fact that he was on Ghilardi's payroll. He abstained from all of those votes. I mean, one speculation, and listen, you're more familiar with this stuff, is they went to him and said, "We got this stuff. How about helping us?" Possibility?
Oh, sure. It's possible. But in my experience, in a trial of this magnitude, it would be very difficult to get to this point and have an informant that you were able to keep completely secret.
People would know. People would know.
I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm saying that's
Very
hard
unlikely.
to do.
All right. There's a lot more to talk about in this trial. I hope you'll come back and talk about it as it goes on.
Sure.
All right.
Glad
Thank you.
to.
All right. If you want to contact me, you can email me at ralston@vegas.com or call me at 650-1976. You can also click on the face-to-face link at lasvegas.com for the latest scheduled updates, or on the link at klastv.com. Catch the program in streaming video on the web. You can also stay up to the minute with everything I do, and boy, is it a lot. Just check it out at ralstonflash.com. And the next face-to-face, all she wanted to do was feed homeless people in the park and see if maybe they qualify for assistance. But Gail Sacco's picnic table runneth over with homeless people, more than 25 by the city marshal's count. Seems that's over the limit for a gathering in the park. Now she's been 86th, and the homeless are going hungry. Would you be kicked out of the park for a party of 25? We'll ask homeless advocate Gail Sacco and our friends from the ACLU. That's on the next Face to Face.